Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of Inside the Dugout. Today I have with me head baseball coach Dave Gage. So, Coach Gage, how has the addition of analytics positively impacted the game?
I think analytics are good and bad. Some of the positives are that scouts don't have to be at games. They can, sort of see the stats and sort of run things in computers, both at the professional level and then at the college level. As a college coach, we can sort of do that with our own players and try to make them better with that kind of stuff. And then at the professional level, scouts can get some stats off of guys and try to find out their on base percentage or where they're hitting the ball and things like that.
What kind of effects do you think these technologies have on organizations and scouting? I know you just touched on that a little bit, but can you go a little more in depth?
Yeah, I know that a lot of scouts are trying to cover, an entire region of baseball. So like a New England scout has to cover Vermont, Connecticut, New Hampshire, and Rhode Island. So for them, they can put in these analytics into their computers and run them and then decide which game they want to go to instead of just having to go to every single guy's game. I think they can limit their, where they go. They can limit their schedule on how many players they see and be able to see that top draft pick a couple extra times instead of seeing 20 guys because of their scouting techniques now.
And that's where it kind of confuses me because how effective can these methods actually be? I know there's nothing like the human eye seeing something, but when you're when you're relying on technology, I mean, is there a lot of room for error?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm personally not for analytics or not for the stat driven um, people out there because I feel that too many times hard line drives might look bad on somebody, but instead it's it's actually really really well done. So I think you really have to look at the person, but again, I think it does give the scout a chance to put in and limit their search instead of constantly going out there. But I do agree the human eye is much better to scout someone.
And I know, we've even put the addition of the ZEP into our program. It's been a useful tool for me as a player, just to figure out bat plane, bat speed, and show me some of the things I need to improve on as a hitter. Um, do you believe in any other player tracking tools or anything like that? For player development and um, you know that sort of thing.
The Zep is a great app. It's something that, like you said, you can really evaluate, and that's the technology piece of baseball that everybody needs to do. That's the part where you can't just sit there and be like, nope, I've always done it this way. You need to use that technology, and like you said, it's a great app to teach. I think some other stuff is like spray charts. You can show a guy where he's constantly hitting a ball instead of just allowing him to continue to swing the same way. Maybe you change something in that way. So there's a couple things out there, but again, at the end of the day, see the ball, hit the ball, and find a gap. So
Yeah. I'm just gonna touch on how that the effects that analytics has had on me as a player. I feel like as a player, I was always about statistics and analytics growing up, and even into my first couple years of college. And um, it's very draining on the mind because you can hit the ball hard five to six times a game, and you can end up with zero hits. And obviously it affects your batting average. It affects the way you're looked at by other people just because maybe you're hitting the ball really well and you're hitting 200. So this year I really tried to focus on trying to go away from that and just trying to improve myself as a player. Just you know by sticking with the process and stuff like that. But the main concern for me is that I'm not not the main concern, but it hasn't been as emotionally draining it for me this year. I might not have the same amount of success that I've had in the past, but I know that I've personally been a person with temper. I've had a bad temper growing up, and I've kind of got away from that just because I'm starting to enjoy enjoy the game more than I ever have.
Yeah, I think, just to touch on that a little bit and being able to coach you this year and being able to coach you in past years as well is, um, if you do take the statistic part out of it and you are able to enjoy the game a little bit more and you're able to deal with the failure, and this is such a game of failure that, when you just enjoy the game in that process and sort of take the analytics and the statistics out of it, you can really enjoy the game of baseball. So absolutely, I think you're 100% right on that.
And baseball is a game. I mean, most Hall of Famers, they fail
7 out of 10 times.
7.3
Yeah.
times out of 10. If you're hitting 270 in your career, you end up in the Hall of Fame as a major leaguer. So it is a game of failure from a pitching standpoint and a hitting standpoint. Can you elaborate on why the new additions could possibly be a bad thing?
I think like you touched on it. Is
Mhm.
just the fact of somebody just loving stats,
Mhm.
and you feeling like you have to go impress the scout because he's not going to be at your game. And if a scout's at your game and you hit a hard line drive at the right fielder 4 times, the scout comes away and like, oh wow, he's a pretty good player. Um, if you're in that stat driven era of life, and of baseball, you hit the 4 line drives to right fielder, the guy makes 2 diving plays, and you leave the game, being like, oh man, I'm terrible. I'm not a good player. Mom and dad call you and say, oh, why didn't you get a hit today? And it's much easier. You can get 4 dink hits, blooped over the second baseman, and your family or your friends are always like, oh, 4 for 4 today, great job.
Mhm.
And you go 0 for 4 with 4 line drives, which is really a better day. I mean, that's more of what you're trying to do, and and you feel like, I guess, a failure. So um, it's definitely a negative on that side of it. It's just like I said, is you take away that eye view of watching a game, and it's something that with our recruiting we like to see our players play beforehand and not
Mhm.
just go off of their stats from high school or anything like that.
All right. So I was watching a major league game the other night, and it was the first night of this new player tracking kind of technique that they're using on their broadcast. And after every play, it was kind of like they analyzed everything that went on. Trajectory of the ball. The kind of angle that the outfielder took to the ball. How hard they threw it in. There was actually a play I saw where shortstop, I think for the Washington Nationals, backhanded a ball and threw it off his back foot. And, obviously, as anybody that watches the game of baseball, throwing off your back foot isn't the easiest thing in the world. And, they get the velocity of that, and, they show, the angle that he took to the ball. And I think that could be a really beneficial thing, too, going back on it, because it allows you to take better angles. So you're kind of analyzing the game from a technological standpoint, and the game's never really been like that. So I personally think that it could be a good thing from the analytics side. I don't know how much statistics can be improved on, because I'm pretty sure they're taking statistics of pretty much anything that you do in the game today. But I thought it was really interesting, and I actually look forward to kind of the advancements that they're going to be making from that aspect, because it allow you to prepare yourself more.
Yeah, with preparation and becoming a better player, like we talked about with the Zep app, absolutely, all of that side of things is great for training and becoming better. I think going to the negative side, too many guys are using it during the game and trying to change something in the game. Well, you can't do that. You need to do that in your preparation, your off the field stuff. Same thing. Like I see guys, at the pro level, they take swings and then go watch video, and fine, because maybe you're trying to pick something up off the pitcher or something like that. But now it's getting into like, oh, your bat plane was -12 instead of +7 or,
And
or
that's
whatever
and
it
that's
is.
pretty much impossible to fix. I mean,
Yeah, you can't change that. If you're going up to the plate thinking about your bat plane, you're
oh, I got to be at a -10 here.
yeah,
Yeah, and
and
that's
trying to hit a 91 mile per hour fastball. Good luck. I mean, you don't have time to think about that stuff. So I think the major league players might be able to do that stuff. I think there's a lot of high school kids who try to replicate it because that's what they see, or maybe some college guys that try to do that, and that's impossible. In a game at any level, you just got to go play. You got to rely on your preparation. So yes, analytics is great for the preparation, like you said, to go back in and improve. But during the game stuff, I'm just really not a fan, and the scouting side, I'm not a huge fan of that either.
And I completely agree with you in that aspect. And one thing I also noticed from that broadcast the other night was that coaches were actually watching it in the dugout,
Mm-hmm.
and it was really weird because maybe it was because it was the first time it's ever been broadcasted like that because they thought it was kind of cool, but I think it's taken a lot of the focus away from the hard work and figuring things out like it's always been. Like as a hitter, before all these player tracking tools and Zep app and stuff like that, you had to fix it without any knowledge of what was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that helps a major leaguer because you are the best of the best, and you're there for a reason. Because you can fix things on your own, but it just makes them that much better of a player.
I think that the big thing is you're going to see more guys getting guys out because they have the technology. So then now the hitters have to invent something,
Mm-hmm.
and the hitters are going to get more hits, and now the pitchers are going to invent something. So it's just an arms race of who can create more technology, the pitchers or the hitters, to get more guys out. And obviously, Major League Baseball wants a good sometimes they say, all right, we want to speed the game up, and then they shrink the strike zone. So
Mm-hmm.
just trying to help make everybody happy, but definitely technology is great, like I said, in preparation. So
And that's pretty much the reason why we're having this conversation today is because I personally wanted to, look into something that relates to me in an everyday life, like what I use and, kind of an activity that I partake in every day, and kind of see how there's been so many advancements in technology just in something that people don't really think that there's been. And, I wanted to give people a different perspective on the game of baseball and realize that it's a game of it's a game of angles, it's a game of inches, it's a game of centimeters, it's a game of the mentality. Like
yeah.
it's just and these technologies, they're continuing to be advanced and implemented and invented, and I just think that it's gonna have a positive impact on the future of the game, like you said, because it's just gonna have to keep getting better because everybody's gonna be going back and forth. So um, that's all I have from my side of things. I don't know if you want to touch on anything else.
I think the game will continue to improve, like you said, because of technology. And for the average person, baseball is just all right, pitch, hit, field. But it's not. I mean, there's just so much more. And having a brother that plays at the professional level, when in the technology and stuff that they get at that level is far more advanced than what we can even imagine playing here. So every single level has more and more. And like I said, the great players go down and they're watching video between games. I know I was talking with someone who's familiar with LSU's program, and they have their hitters stand there and watch a video of a guy hitting before a game. So that's their batting practice. But there's tons of technology and tons of preparation in the game of baseball, and it is far more advanced than technology than just pitch, hit, and field. So it's one of those things that I've always said is the people that really enjoy baseball see the ins and outs of it, and those that uh, do not like baseball just think that it's a pitch hit and defense, and it's way more than that.
and yeah, just lastly, the purpose of this was just to make people realize
Yeah.
that it's just so much more
Mm-hmm.
than that. Um, and I might take some criticism for this, but I think it's the hardest sport to play, just because you're hitting, a 90-mile-an-hour fastball at a major league level, sometimes even 100,
Mm-hmm.
with a wood bat,
Mm-hmm. Round
wood,
bat, round ball.
round bat, round ball in a small sweet spot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So in a little bit of time to react.
I think every coach and every player of their own sport thinks their own sport is the hardest, and there's never going to be a winner in that. But I challenge a lot of really good athletes of other sports to get in a cage and face 95, 96, and then the next pitch face something that drops 6 inches off the plate, and the next one run 5 inches to the left, and the next one run
I mean,
5
look,
inches towards your right knee. So
look at Michael Jordan. I mean, he was the best basketball player of all time.
yep,
And
couldn't
he couldn't play baseball.
make double A.
Yeah,
So
you know, and part of the reason why he got his shot was because he was that basketball player.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, you've seen it. And Deion Sanders was a tremendous football player, and he made it up because of how well he could run, but he wasn't a tremendous baseball player. So yeah, 100%. It's a very very difficult game, whether it's the hardest or not. Everyone's gonna argue about, but I would challenge anybody to get in a cage against 95 and the next pitch throw a 12-6 curveball. So good luck with that one.
Definitely. Thank you, Coach Gage, for joining me today, and I hope all my listeners enjoyed this podcast.